Hello, this is Ravi, and welcome to productlessons.com. My 20-year-old cousin and his friends back in India, in Bangalore, they are running a couple of service startups, and they also now plan to build their first product. And they often approach me with their product ideas regularly, and I often give them my inputs. So this time I thought, why not record the conversation? Because as it is, we are having a productive conversation, and I thought already I have this new YouTube channel. So while I was having this conversation with them, I felt why not just record it as is. So here we are, completely impromptu, unscripted. Of course, we did some preparation to make it worth your time in on a YouTube channel. So what they would be doing is they would be proposing a problem that they see is important and that they want to solve, and we will evaluate together if this problem is worth solving and whether it's a growth problem, right? I mean, if you remember, the topics that I usually pick for my for this YouTube channel is on growth. And usually when new entrepreneurs, they pick the problem, picking the right problem becomes a key factor, because usually there is an opportunity cost associated with it. If you are too fast and not very careful on picking the problems, what happens is you might be losing out on a better problem. And once you start investing into a problem, and you might, if you get early success to it, you might be shedding a good part of your life into solving this. So it becomes all the more important that you pay attention on the kind of problem that you want to pick and solve the problem that should pay dividends in the long run. So I had some principles that I picked over time, some models. Most of it came from Y Combinator's principles. So I'm here to share some of these along with my young friends back in India. Let me bring them to screen so that they could say hello. And this is Ritesh and Kaushik. Guys, do you want to say something about yourself first? Ritesh, sorry, you are muted. Wait, let me unmute you.
So, hey guys,
Hey
I'm
guys,
Ritesh.
I'm Ritesh.
I'm 19 years
I'm
old,
19 years old,
and
and I'm current.
I am working
I
on
am
a
working on
service
a
startup now.
service startup
Now I
now.
want to get
Now I
a
want to get
product
a
startup,
product startup,
and Ravi is gonna help
and
me out.
Ravi is gonna help me out.
And this is Kaushik. I'm friend of Ritesh, and we are working together on our services-based model. And now we are looking forward to launch our first product, for which we seek help from Ravi at times, and he's been a mentor and coach to us. That's something that we are learning uh, every day, something new from him.
Excellent, great.
Great.
So
So as I said,
let me just mute you guys. As I said, so they often approach me with ideas, just like my other friends, and I like talking about new ideas and new product ideas, and not just them, but many of my friends. Just having these conversations lights me up. So they had a product idea today, and they will share the idea. We will have this conversation. So let me share my screen first, just so that I have something to show and the thoughts are structured. Share. All right. So how to identify a growth problem is how I named it. So usually, before we jump into solving for something, we have to first understand if that problem is worth solving, and it's called the stage one. That is when the problem solution fit should be there. Usually what happens is most new entrepreneurs, they start with a solution mindset. So they have an idea and they're kicked by that by the power of that idea, and they then venture out looking for a problem that they have solution for. So there's no problem around, but they are way too invested in the solution or the idea and married to that idea. And that's why it's very important to validate your problem and the solution fit, whether there is a problem and whether your solution solves that problem nicely. And having more passion for the solution than the problem is a problem, right? So entrepreneurs must have the wisdom to not fall in love with their idea, but to validate whether there is a real problem worth solving. And this is research done that the number one reason most startups fail is because there is no market need, and it's 42%. There is no need. That means there is no problem at all. Just that most entrepreneurs, especially when they come from technical side of things, if they have been engineers, they just are fascinated by the latest and the greatest technology, AI, ML, and they say that, you know what, I'm building something cool with this new AI technology, and they are in love with the technology and the idea, and there is no problem as such. So this graph here validates this data, validated. It comes from Forbes magazine, and it says 42% of the ideas fail and startups fail because there is no market need. So this is something that one needs to be very, very aware of before you jump into something. So solutions, please do not start here. I'm just repeating this, but this is worth repeating. And the quote that I really love that comes from Dave McClure, I've talked about Dave McClure in my previous videos as well, that customers don't care about your solution. They care about their problems. So you should always be living in the problem space. Solution comes much later. All right, so just before the conversation, Ritesh, Kaushik, I asked them, hey, frame the problem well. And so I pushed them to write the problem, and this is how the problem looks like to them. So maybe I ask Ritesh to just explain this a bit more, and then we can go about it. So Ritesh, why don't you share more about the problem here?
Yeah, Ravi, sure. I will explain it. This was a problem which I saw in my society. Usually, people complain that management was not able to solve the problems which we have. And the most common complaint by all the residents was there's no transparency. We don't know how the management is functioning or how they're even trying to solve our problem. And usually, when we wanted any service from, let's say, a plumber, there's no proper tracking of the plumber. We had to have multiple calls, and a small job should take 2 days to solve. There's no proper accountability or tracking of issues, and that's the whole problem.
Okay, and how did you come across this problem? I mean, why did you think this is an important problem to solve?
I've lived in this apartment for almost 12 years now, and this problem is we have annual apartment owners meeting, and the same problem is the same complaints come up every year for almost like 5-6 years, and there's no solution to it yet. They've tried changing the management, still the problems continue, and people are still dissatisfied, and so that's why I thought this would be a good problem to solve.
Okay, I think you have listed down the core problems. Residents complain that the security management are not able to solve the issues. There is no transparency of the issues backlog. There is no accountability and tracking of issues. There is no automation of complaint management and resolution. As a result, it takes a lot of time to resolve it. Okay, so these looks like good problems. So let's dig a little deeper. So as I said, some of these models come from Y Combinator. And usually, so they are investors, right? So and they usually invest on growth problems. They just do not say yes to all ideas that come their way. So usually they have the guidance of some kinds of test that they do, whether a problem is a growth problem or not. Number one is whether that problem is popular. What that means is, do a lot of people have this problem? Okay, so Kaushik and Ritesh, let's ask ourselves whether this is a popular problem. Do you think this is a problem that is popular? Do you think that a lot of people have this problem, not just your society, but in societies in general, and not just in your city, but across all cities, not just in India? Do you see this problem across the world?
uh, I see this problem mostly in my locality, and even my friends who live far away. This is mostly in my city. I've only talked to a few people about their apartments and management and all, and I see this as a common problem in the people I've talked to. I haven't. I don't know many people outside my city, so I usually talk to people of my age who live in different apartments, and they have the similar problem.
Right. But what does your gut say? Do you think that this is a problem that is common, that should be common across all societies?
Yes, it is, because now only one or two, a small group of people manage this, and humans are prone to error, and usually the mindset behind any management is, yes, the work will be done. They don't take responsibility. They might be active in the initial days, but as time progresses, they don't be so active as they were initially. So once
Okay.
you have an automated system, it will be continuous.
Right. Again, let's not talk about solution. I'm still in the problem space. And what you're saying is, yes, this is a problem that you see across the board, not just in your society, but societies that your friends live elsewhere. And you don't see a reason why this should not be a problem in societies in other cities all over India, and maybe outside India as well. All right. So this is a check. This is a tick mark. Yes, it's a problem across the board. Number two, growing. Okay, this is also a test that most investors would want to know, that is this problem going to grow? More and more problem people are going to face this, or this is going to be a problem that is limited in terms of its growth. So what do you think? Are more and more people going to be having this problem, or this is constrained and limited and stagnant problem?
This will be a problem, will be a growing problem, because humans tend to live socially. They live together, and once they live together, there will be societies, and we need, and when they need societies, they'll need some management to take over the management issues. So I think it will be having a growing chance.
Right. So there will be new societies formed. There will be new apartments being formed. More and more people, the new middle class, are moving from the smaller cities to the bigger cities, and they're buying apartments in societies and stuff like that. More builders are also building new societies. So this is going to be a problem that is going to grow, isn't it? So this is a yes as well. Excellent. Is this problem urgent? That means, is this something that needs to be solved very, very, very quickly and right away? Or okay to live with it for some time, and it's not as urgent as this thing?
I don't think it's a change which we need overnight. These are like the small changes which make our living experience better. That's my opinion.
Got it.
Uh,
So usually what happens is, the frame of reference that I have for this question is, whether are you solving, is it a painkiller or a vitamin? All right. Excuse me. So a painkiller is something that is urgent. That means you need relief right away. And if you provide that relief, people are going to pay whatever you want. Okay. And if it's not a painkiller, if it's a vitamin, they will take their own sweet time, and they will take their own, not just time, but even they would not want to pay I feel that this is somewhere in between. It's not a pain. It's in between painkiller and a vitamin, isn't it? So not too urgent.
Like I said, this issue which I saw has been going on for 6 years in my society. So I think it's high time we address this issue. Like, we can't just leave this forever. Like, many people even leave few apartments because of bad management issues.
Got it. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say 7 out of 10 in terms of urgency. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. So is this expensive? And what I mean by this is, would people be willing to pay a lot of money for solving this problem? Say,
I really
say
don't know
you
the cost part of it.
say for example, if you go to your society and your management and tell them, hey, you know what, I have a product and I've solved this. Would you be willing to pay X amount of dollars for solving this? And that X amount of dollars is a considerable amount. Would they be willing to pay?
Uh, I'm not sure because I feel my apartment will be ready because everyone is really tired of this problem for a long time. If the first people who would be ready to pay is who have gone through this problem for a long time and they just want a change. People
Okay.
who desperately into this will be ready to pay.
Yeah. So again, we have to do some market research on this, and I have a slide later which is called willingness to pay test, which is an important, very very important test that one should do, especially when you are validating a new idea. I'm putting 5 out of 10 out of gut, but you might prove me wrong by saying, hey, I spoke to 20 people, out of them 15 of them said yes, they're willing to pay. I'll come to the willingness of test slide much later. um, mandatory, is this problem mandatory? What it means is they have to solve it. They cannot live without solving it. And with the way I see this, what happens usually is people tend to be comfortable with the status quo unless you present them a new solution. Sometimes they become comfortable with the status quo, and the new solution, even though it is attractive, might not move to that solution. So my question to you is, do you think people have to solve this problem, or they can live with the problem?
This I'm not very sure because people are. I haven't done any market research on this, so I'm not sure of if the people really want it instantly.
Yeah, I'm just giving you some mental models. Of course, you will not have perfect answers now. These are just the models that you should think through when you are trying to solve a problem. And these are some things, as I said, this comes from Y Combinator, and these are the things that they tend to measure an entrepreneur's idea first. All right. So you might not have all the answers right now, but just thinking through these questions strengthens your idea even better, and then you can take a decision whether or not you want to go ahead with this. Next, frequent means, are these problems being encountered at frequent time intervals, or this is once in a year problem? Okay, but what you are saying, these are regular problems, very frequently, right? So your taps might be getting unclean water, or your floors might be leaking. You might have electricity problems. You might have gas problems, especially in India. You might have security issues. So it seems like these problems frequently occur one after another, and it's not like a problem that you encounter, say, once in a year. Like, for example, tax problems. Tax is something that you take care of once in a year. All right. So this is a problem that happens once in a year. But the kind of problem that you are stating here, it is a more frequent problem, isn't it? So
Yes.
let's make it 8 out of 10. Now, usually what happens when you are coming up, where you're listing this, it does not need to be yes for all these 6 parameters. Okay, your problem need not be popular, growing, urgent, expensive, mandatory, frequent. No, but it should at least have multiple 2 or 3 of this, if it's say 8 out of 10 for at least 3 of these 6 items, 6 parameters, then your problem is really, really strong. Okay, so when you are coming up with new ideas, make sure that when you are comparing and contrasting these ideas, pick those ideas which are really strong, 8 out of 10, for at least 2 to 3 of these parameters. Did you get my point?
Yes.
Excellent. And the next is solution. So what kind of a solution do you want to propose for this problem?
My solution is digitalizing the management process, building an app where all the residents are connected to a single app and all the processes happen in the app, and people keep track of each and every activity happening by the management. So this addresses the transparency issue.
Cool. So this is a solution. It's an app that all the residents needs to install on their phones so that they can make they can have transparent access to the issues that that are listed, right? Cool.
Yes.
Next, let's strengthen the solution even more, so as to say, if the solution has an unfair advantage, why should you be solving it? Okay. And usually this you might not want to answer right away, but this is also something that you should keep it in mind. Number one, founder, are you 1 in 10 of those people in the world who can solve this problem? Do you have a patent or a PhD? But the kind of problem that you just stated and the app that you had in mind, it does not look like it needs a patent or it needs a founder advantage. So usually what happens is whenever an investor is looking at a problem space and they're looking at the team, they want to see, okay, why should I invest on this idea and this team? What is the unfair advantage that you have that gives it more probability of success? So usually, if a founder comes from an industry and he has several years of experience of that industry, or he's a PhD, or he has a patent that adds a lot of this unfair advantage, then they readily go and back him up. So it seems like on the founder side, there is no such advantage. Next is market. Is it growing 20% year on year? As I said, we are looking at a problem that is growth oriented. Okay, it has to be massively scalable and massively growing. So the market has to be growing 20% year on year. So that means if you have 100 customers this year, next year you should be at least getting 120. So you should be at least growing by 20%, which is a yes for market. Is your product 10x better? All right. So that means what is the existing solution for your for this space? Who are you competing with? And I have a next slide that we'll be going deeply into it. But is your product 10x better? So tell me, in your society, let's compare your society. In your society, what is the existing product? What are the existing means of solving this?
The actual means is the apartment association is we have different blocks. Each block has a representative. These people form the board, and these board hire few people to work as a management for the society, and this society is responsible for hiring the cleaners, plumbers, everybody.
Got it.
So these committee members meet monthly and discuss this, but this I don't know how far this discussion go because I'm not part of it. And there's a yearly meeting where all the apartment residents have to attend and they can discuss the problems there.
No, I mean, yeah, I get that. I mean, your existing solution. If you have a plumber issue, what is the existing solution? So is it all manual? Is it through WhatsApp? Is it through how does information?
Multiple calls. It's we first call office to find out the plumber's number, and then or some other in charge. They'll be in charge for a plumber. Then we'll call the in charge, and then he gives one plumber's number. And when we call the plumber, he says, "I'm busy now. Call the other plumber." So this call keeps getting forwarded like some 3-4 times. Ultimately, it takes really long time for the problem to be fixed. Those are simple problem.
Got it. So definitely your product is going to be 10x better than your existing product. The existing product is what? The existing way of doing things is manual. It's through telephone. It's a lot of follow-ups on telephone, talking to multiple people. So there's no centralized place, and an app can definitely make it 10 times better. So there is a tick mark on the market side. There's a tick mark on the product side. We of course we do not know if there is a product already available, and it seems like, Kaushik, you said that there is a product already available, right? There's a competitor already. Is Kaushik
Yes, uh, there are few competitors already that exist.
right? So right.
I'm
So
getting
mute you back. Yeah. So the point is your product 10 times better than the existing product in market? So some societies do not have any product as such. So you're definitely better than them. And Kaushik came up with some competitive analysis, and he found that, you know what, there are some products which are already there in the market, and we might not be better than them for now, but that is okay. Let's focus on markets which do not have a product. So from status quo, which does not have an automated product, we are definitely 10x times better. So it gives you an unfair advantage that way. Next is customer acquisition. Is customer acquisition cost zero? This is also a very good metric to see if you have an unfair advantage, because if you say that the cost of acquiring a new customer is like, you have to spend a lot of ads, you have to hire a lot of sales team, you have to pay for your sales team, you have to spend a lot of money on social media ads and stuff like that, then your customer acquisition cost is bloating. And this is something that you do not want, especially at a starting stage. Yes, when you have achieved your product market fit, then you are growing. At that time, you want to pump more money to acquire more customers. That is fine. But when you're starting, you would want to have ideas where the cost is zero. Okay, and how can the cost be zero? You have to see. I mean, if I asked you, hey, do you think you can acquire new societies with zero cost, what would be your answer?
Yes, I can. So once I try it out in a small group of people, and then show these results to the neighboring societies, and just show them this is a better way. Just try it out, and then I can acquire more societies to adopt this app
So that
by
means
just showing the results.
that means you don't have to spend a lot of money on ads.
Yes,
You can
be more like people talking about the app or talking about this solution to their own management.
got it. So so you're saying word of mouth can help you get you the early adopters for your product,
Yes.
and that is a great way if you are able to achieve it. Word of mouth is one of the best channels, especially for early startups, and if you're able to do that, it's great. So we are good with market, we are good with product, we are good with acquisition. Let's talk about the fifth one, which is monopoly. So as you grow, is it going to be difficult for others to take over?
Can you rephrase this question in a better way?
What monopoly means is, when you capture a market, okay, it becomes difficult for a competitor to come and take away your market share. So for example, you have your product is already being actively used in 100 societies, okay. So now, do you have the monopoly? That means if you move fast and acquire 100 200 societies, do you think it gives you monopoly, or do you think it still has a chance for a competitor product to come to that society and bargain to them, saying that, hey, you know what, we have a better product, please take our product. Okay, so do you have advantage of monopoly, or do you think that this is going to be a really competitive space to be in? You understand what competitive space means?
Yes. So as I see it for now, the idea, the vision I have for this app is addressing all the small issues which make the living experience of residents better. So I've seen, as a resident, I've seen all the small issues which don't they don't really people don't usually focus on it, but once it's done they feel really good about it. So once I address all these issues, and then they'll a competitor has to come up with a really new variety of problem which is really difficult to find, because societies have come to a stage where there's no big change in society, the way people live in a society. If there's a big change in the way people live in a society, then yes, then a new problem might pop up and there might be a competitor. Until the society changes, the way the society changes, I don't think there'll be any new competitor.
So your rationale is a little weak here, because this, you do not have any technological advantage here. So it's difficult to replicate this app, and a competitor can actually copy your solution and come back with a better pricing, or he can come back with better experience. So you are on a sticky wicket on this one. Okay, so it's a 5 out of 10 on monopoly. Which I'm saying is there is no stickiness. So you have to think of stickiness. That means there should be a friction, or there should be a pain for your customer to leave your app to a competitor. So this is something that you should be also aware of. That and so the thing is, most network-based businesses have a tendency of monopoly. So either you rethink about your offering in terms of, okay, can I make this into a platform? Okay, and not just an app. Okay, because an app that could be a better app, solving the same problems with better experience, solving the same problem with cheaper price. So definitely you are on a sticky wicket on the monopoly side. Acquisition, I give you an 8 out of 10. A product, I can give you an 8 out of 10. But on the founder side and on the monopoly side, it's sticky, which is okay. Okay, you do not have to score 10 on all these parameters. See, the point that I'm trying to make is, all of these scenarios just makes you think stronger when you pick up a topic that you want to solve, if you want to a problem that you want to solve, so that you do not jump into the very first idea. Usually what happens, the young entrepreneurs, whenever they first of all, they are way too excited, and whenever they see a new problem, they want to jump on it. But these questions are asking these models and frameworks, what happens, it strengthens how strong is your idea. It actually validates your idea, and then it makes you more prepared whether or not you should jump into that idea. So what are the existing solutions we are competing? Your existing solution, as you said, is telephone, lots of follow-up, maybe emails, maybe WhatsApp. You might say, hey, management, could you please share your WhatsApp so that it's easy for us, and I could send you messages and follow up with you instead of calling you. And then you have to come up with pros and cons, because what happens is, most people, especially the new entrepreneurs, what happens is they get way too excited with their idea. It all starts with the app. Again, it all starts from the solution. But you have to keep a keen eye on the existing solution that is already there. If some societies are smaller, and if they're able to solve all of these issues through WhatsApp, why would they want to go into a complicated app? Getting my point? So you have to be very open. Do not fall in love with your app. Do not fall in love with your idea. See if the existing solution is already happening through WhatsApp. Because nobody would want to, there is a lot of friction to actually go and first of all buy an app, and then install that app, and then go to that app to check the status of their issues. Maybe WhatsApp is free, maybe it is much more easier. So you have to also spend some time in evaluating existing solutions, and do a pros and cons. Okay, see all the pros for the existing, see all the cons, and then compare your pros and cons. And then when you see, no, my solution, my app will be much better than um, say WhatsApp, then you should go ahead. One thing that I see, even if WhatsApp is easy, one problem that I see is, say, for in a society of 100 families, not everybody will be open due to privacy reasons to share their. Suppose all the residents wants to talk about some issues, they would not be open to have their private numbers just visible to everybody, isn't it? So that way you could solve something of that sort. So I'm just trying to tell you that, you know what, also have do some rigor in comparing your new idea with the existing solutions.
Yes. So the WhatsApp one problem which I found was, say if I WhatsApp the problem to the management, I'm not the only person WhatsApping on a single day. There'll be at least some 20 to 20 people, and plus their WhatsApp will have their own personal contacts or chats. So the message of the probability of the message being lost and the spam of their own messages is more. So they don't. It's not necessary that they check it at the same day. They might check it the next day or the night, or when they're clearing all the notifications.
Right. So I get your point. Especially in bigger societies, this could be your messages could be lost. But I still see WhatsApp groups of 200 people that are doing fine. Okay, my point is you have to be really, really, really good to provide a solution for them to actually pay instead of falling back into a free solution like WhatsApp or something of that sort. So I'm not challenging you. Might be your solution is much better than the existing ones, but keep this in mind. So this is something. This is again a behavioral scientist and a Professor BJ Fogg, again my favorite. He came up with this formula, which is behavior is equal to motivation plus ability plus trigger. That means usually we are biased towards our own idea or a product because it's our product and our idea. We think that our customers will use it, but there is an inherent bias because it's our idea, and you have to be very objective about it. So any new product is actually asking the user who already has a habit of using the status quo. So you are asking him to acquire new habits of using your product. So that means, and BJ Fogg came up with this formula. He says if you want to instill new behavior, it should be a combination of motivation, ability, and trigger. Motivation is, yes, I have a pain point, I need to solve this pain point. That is the motivation. So all the residents of a society, they have to be highly motivated to solve that problem. Next, ability. Ability is your app. It is your solution. That is the ability. That solution is solving for this problem. And next is trigger. Trigger is what? Because of old behaviors, they might quickly WhatsApp again instead of opening their app. So you have to again create triggers, say notifications or something of that sort, or email saying that, hey, you know what? We have received your ticket is now in the next status, and we thought we will notify you. Okay, your problem will be resolved in another 2 days. So these are the triggers. So what happens when you have motivation, you have ability, and you have a trigger, then the new behavior will be instilled into your user. So this is a very good model that you should be completely aware of, because most times there is a bias towards our own idea, and people do not keep or give a thought about how to overcome the behavior gap. I know of another friend who has a product similar to that. He never took care. He did not even think, why would a customer or a user switch from old ways of doing things to the new ways of doing things? You have to make it strong by a stronger motivation, by a stronger ability, and a stronger trigger. When these three things become stronger, then a new behavior is instilled. So this is a very, very big problem, and people underestimate the power of behaviors. People like to go back to old behaviors. There is a lot of friction to adopt a new behavior. Getting my point here? Next is forces of switching. This is also one of my favorite models. Whenever you come up with a new solution, it is competing with your status quo. And that's why there are multiple forces at play here, which is, okay, there is a push of the situation. What are the situations that will motivate them to switch? And the pull of the new solution. Okay, which aspects of your new solution will pull them into this new idea? Okay, a great feature might pull them. And then there are two hindering forces. That means the habit of the present, as I said. Okay, what do they really like about the current behavior? That is a pull, because old behavior will pull them from moving on to a new app. And also there is second hindering force, which is anxiety of a new situation. People do not like new things. Most people like the comfort of old behavior. Okay, so whenever you are coming up with a new idea, you have to keep these forces in check and just write it down. Okay, what are the magnetism of the new solution? What are the push of the new situation? Is it stronger than the habit of the present? Will it overcome the anxiety of new situation? So once you have some of these things in place, then if you do your homework well, then you will be able to come up with a very strong and a much more probable idea which is more likely to succeed. The last one is again a very, very powerful idea, which is willingness to pay. Sometimes what happens, most young, early, first-time entrepreneurs, they go and talk to customers, users, okay, and they say, hey, do you like this idea? If we solve for this, do you think this is a good idea? They will speak to, say, 20 people. And 18 of them will say, yeah, it's a great idea. Of course, it's a great idea. Thank you. And they stop at that and they go and they build the app. But this is the mistake. Don't just stop asking them, do you like the idea? The real test is, hey, if I solve this problem, will you be agreeable to pay me 500 euros, or say if you're in India, say 1,000 rupees per month for this? And this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you are actually asking them to shed. How do you know the power of an idea? The only way where a customer, your target audience, is willing to shed his own money from his pocket, then you know that the idea is powerful. And this is called a willingness to pay test. Usually what entrepreneurs, the mistakes that they do is they come up with the product, everything is done, they have invested 6 months of development, and then they go to the market and then they ask people, hey, do you want to buy this? This is a mistake. You have to do this test right at the idea stage. Go to your users and ask them, hey, if we solve this problem, will you be willing to pay X dollars? And this is again very, very powerful. A lot of people do not do this. And if you do this, again, you are more likely to be more ready.
Ravi, a question on this.
Yeah.
How many people should I, is there a particular number, or should I just randomly pick a number and ask those many people?
There are varying studies. Some, especially willingness to pay is something. Of course, the more number of people, the more likely it is. But if you talk to 10 people, you can get a sense where it is heading to. And always talk to people who is your target audience. Find out your niche. Okay, the persona of your, who exactly. Say, for example, this product that you're thinking of, there are two personas that I can see. The problems are not just for the residents, but also for the management. The management also wants to do a good job for the residents. The residents also wants to solve. So talk to 10 residents and talk to a bunch of management professionals. So what happens if you talk to 10, if only 2 are saying yes, then you will be disappointed. So maybe speak to 20. So when you speak to 20, if it is still 2 or 4, then it's a reality check for you. but 10 to 20 is a good number to get to estimate on how people are thinking about this. All right, so this is all that I had. These were some of the models that I had. I hope this was useful to you.
Yes, this
And
is really helpful.
and you could use these just to evaluate yourself whenever you come up with your next idea. I mean, on the face of it, whatever you shared with me, it looks like a great idea. The only challenge that I see is if there are already existing players, but hell, there are so many products that have been built in spite of existing, and the market is way too big for multiple players to be there. So yeah, I mean, if you really feel for it, and if you see this actually scaling, why not? But have a couple of more ideas. Maybe you have a better growth. I'm getting a echo again. So maybe you have a better growth problem. Okay, this is a good problem, as I said, but try to see if you have more problems and bring all of them together, place them on vertical columns to all of these questions, and see which is the one which has the maximum potential and scores high on all the questions that we were validating this, and then pick the ones that you think has the highest potential. So keep your biases. Sometimes you fall in love with an idea, but keep that away and look objectively using some of these questions, because these are the questions eventually when you want to go out and get some money, like get some funding, your angel investors or your VCs will ask the same questions. So if you have done a good homework earlier, then you will be more ready to impress them and influence them to put and back your startup. Got it?
Yes, thanks a lot. A lot. I will try all these tests out. I will talk to people in my apartment and the management and find out this. And I will think of how I have the competitive advantage in all that.
Excellent. Kaushik, do you have anything to add? No, you're muted. You're muted. Anyways, maybe next time. Great. Then thanks. As I said to the audience, this was not planned. As I said, we were already having this conversation, and I thought, why not just record this on YouTube, and maybe other young entrepreneurs, first-time entrepreneurs might also find this useful. As I said, these are not my original questions. I had referenced from multiple sources. Most of it comes from Y Combinator, but willingness to pay test is, let me just stop sharing my screen. The willingness to pay test comes from Madhavan Ramanujam. So his book was my reference for that. But yeah, if you liked it, I can also share the slides with you. You can just leave. I will send the link below, and then you can download the slides as well. So next week I will talk to some growth expert. I'm talking to a few growth experts in my network to talk to them and learn from them what are some of the growth tactics that they are following. So next week I am hoping that I will have at least one or two growth experts from the industry to share that knowledge. As I said, this channel is mostly focused on growth, and this episode today was how to pick a problem which has immense growth potential. With that, see you around next time. Bye-bye.